everybody. Brian and Trunal back at you again, having a conversation about build versus buy in the cloud marketplaces. And Trunal has a unique experience that at Confluent, he built out cloud marketplaces. So, Trunal, can you tell us a little bit about what that was like and what was entailed?
Sure. So yeah, Confluent, we built the entire cloud marketplaces integration by ourselves. I had a team of engineers who did the integrations with all three cloud marketplaces, plus the billing side of things. And it was quite a lot of involved effort, to be honest. And kudos to Confluent for jumping into this channel very soon, very earlier on, and kind of really working with all the cloud providers to make the whole experience better and better, and then build integrations. So what we saw is we had invested a lot of engineering effort and also sales ops effort on the sales side to make sure that the platform that we were building, the integration that we were building, were actually useful for the end customers of the platform, which is the AEs, the sales ops folks, the finance folks, and the like, to make sure that the platform was actually useful. So it was quite an involved effort and required a lot of engineering effort from our side as well.
What would you say that was unexpected in building out that cloud marketplace function at Confluent? What was there more of, or what was faster? What took longer? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we when we started, we really thought, hey, this is how engineers think, Brian. They're like, how hard can this be? Right? Every single
Super
conversation
smart
start.
people, engineers, you can all figure it out, right? It'll be easy.
So that's what we thought, like, how hard can this be? And so we just went at it with our own approach, and it was good in some ways, not good in the other ways. Like, the amount of investment that we had to make was quite a bit. It did provide a lot of flexibility to us in on the other side because we had built the entire platform ourselves. So that was something surprising. Like, all of us thought this would be a quick project to start off with, and we would just be on our merry ways afterwards. But it didn't turn out to be that way. We had to have investment, continued investment on the engineering side, and some of the other peripheral functions around it to make sure that this was a success.
Trinal, what are a few of the considerations when you're considering whether or not to build this yourself?
Yeah, so one of the top consideration is, or one of the top myths is that this is going to be a one-time investment. It is not. You have to have people on it to build it. They have to have be understanding the entire intricacies of one marketplace. If you're multi-cloud, they need to be understanding the intricacies of all three. It is something that a full-time person or more than that, depending upon the size of the company, you will have to dedicate to. Those folks need to be really understanding the details on marketplaces, not just on the engineering side, but what is a private offer, how do we get it dispersed, like how do you do the revenue recognition, keeping these listings and the entire co-sell motion up to date so that your field sellers and your internal systems are in sync is a challenge of its own. You also have to consider like single cloud versus multi-cloud, single listing versus multi-listing. All of these complications start coming in as you start going deeper into the ecosystem of marketplaces. And that is what is one thing that one must consider before, okay, do I want to do all of this myself, or should I go with a third party vendor and get them to just offload this work off of my plate so I can just focus on my core of what I'm known for in the industry.
And then how about on the flip side, Trinal? How about when companies decide to buy? What's the process look like there?
So it's getting any vendor is just same exactly the considerations that you would use for uh, any of the marketplace vendors as well. What's their team look like? What kind of features do they have? Can they handle scale? What's the reliability? Of course, the price. Are the folks who are working on this, do they understand your specific situation? Can they help with your specific integrations? If you need something that is out of the box, can they innovate quickly and provide that to you? These are like, I mean, Brian, I'm just saying all of these things is something that I used when I evaluated vendors. So those are all of them apply to marketplace space as well.
You bought a lot of software in your time running cloud engineering at Confluent and being at Airbnb as well, right? So you've been on both sides.
Definitely. Definitely, I'll definitely be on both sides for sure.
And you've seen companies scale so much, Janal. What? How does the build versus buy dilemma change as you become a larger company? Is it easier to do it? You have more resources, but at the same time, you have more things that you're trying to support and maintain. How do you think about that, and how does that change at a larger size company?
Yeah, so let me answer that in two parts, Brian. One is, let's say if you're a big company, you have access to a lot of resources, you can pretty much hire anyone out there in the industry, and you are able to pay that, right? The question is not your ability to hire and train and get that done. The question is investing that energy into this specific type of work. Is that worth your time? And think about what you could do with that time and take that elsewhere, like your core product, and put that energy and resources and money and engineering effort in that thing. Are you able to get more ROI? I'm of the opinion generally that if you can offload some work off to somebody else that you don't want to be an expert at, you'll need to invest a whole bunch of resources in it, but focus on fewer things and go deep on them. This is something like both Ayush and I learned at Airbnb, where we talked a lot about, like the Brancheski, the CEO of Airbnb. We used to talk a lot about focus on fewer things but do them better, versus focusing on like 100 things and do them kind of sort of okay. So that's the kind of philosophy that you should apply for vendors as well.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you said earlier about having super talented engineers. Sure, they can build things, but wouldn't you rather have them building your own product instead of things that are not as impactful, and instead partner with people who are experts at it and focus your engineering resources where it really makes a difference, right?
Exactly, exactly. And the other part of that question, what I wanted to get to is, let's say we had the big company question that we were addressed. Now on the smaller side, you only maybe don't, you of course don't have as many resources at your disposal. You're always constantly wondering about when can I, how can I reduce my investment in XYZ area and double the impact, right? And in that phase also, you have to consider, okay, it may be just like a couple of engineers, maybe one quarter worth of work. Maybe you could delay it, like if you got a vendor you can get it done fast. If you did it by yourself, it'll get done at a much slower pace. But then again, what you have to consider is, okay, this is the point in time what you're thinking about right now, but what does the world look like in say 2 years down the line, 4 years down the line, 6 years down the line, 8 years down the line? Do you want to be constantly doing this? And then when you do become big, do you want to be left with this bag of stuff
The
that
hodgepodge, all the
yeah, the
stuff
hard
the skeletons you stuff in the closet, right? Don't open
exactly.
that door. You don't want to see what software we have behind there.
Exactly, exactly. Versus get somebody whose job is to just do that and manage that for you. I'm of the opinion that you should definitely be doing the approach where you hand it off to the experts.
Hey Trinal, with all the knowledge you have today, if you could go back 2 or 3 years, what would your advice be to Trinal back then, and what would you change in terms of the strategy?
Yeah, and specifically as it relates to build versus buy, Brian, like 3 years ago when we were looking at the market, there was a lot of like infrastructure, DevOps, AI, ML kind of companies coming to these marketplaces. So it was a set of known entities that were coming. Fast forward now, and I've seen this definitely in our customer base. We get customers from all over the place, right? Like be it not just infrastructure, but like marketing automation and some of the other things. So knowing what I know now, I definitely know that the space on the marketplaces side has reached a tipping point where no ISV coming onto the market now can ignore this. Like it has to be one of your strategies. In fact, one very interesting quote that I can give you, Brian, from one of the VP of sales of one of our customers. And he said, if you are a top level sales leader in today's day and age, and if you do not have a strategy around marketplaces, you are actually not a very good sales leader. And
Yep.
this is literally quoting him directly. And I firmly believe in that, because like the growth that we are seeing in our customer base, and the growth that the industry is seeing, with the research that Canalys did, Zinov did, the kind of growth that we are going to see in the next 6 to 10 years. It is not a channel that you can ignore. Now, if you backtrack that to today and somebody who's starting out or somebody who's just like starting to get this channel working, they have to really put thought into, okay, this may become, and there's a very good chance that this will become one of our predominant channels for revenue. And in that case, like, do I want to be investing a whole lot of energy into just learning what this thing is, or go towards someone who can just do it for you? So those would be is what I would consider as the options to consider for people for sure.
Yeah. And as a VP of sales who doesn't really have an option to ignore the channel, since that's, we sell through cloud marketplaces, but it's so true what you said. And I think that we're still early days, but there's such a competitive advantage to be gained for the people who are getting out in front of this, because we're still just scratching the surface and there's a lot more to come.
Absolutely, 100%.